welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So quickly, our sponsors. We are proudly sponsored by Yugoku caps. You've seen me wearing them on the podcast. You can get the discount codes from me, send me a message. I'll send them to you. They're floating around. We're also sponsored by Phoenix head torches. Same thing goes. If you're after a discount code, just get in touch. There are there on the web, but if you want them personally from me, I will send them to you. And also, finally, we are proudly sponsored by Home Trails. So Home Trails is my YouTube series interviewing famous trail runners from hopefully around the world at some point. In the UK at the moment, where we interview them on the trail in the home trails. You understand what it is, don't you? You've listened to the show. That's hopefully turning into a bit of a brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, on with the actual show. Okay, yes, we are recording. So welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. Robin Leathley.
Got it.
Got it.
On.
I was going to say I won't talk about getting people's names wrong, but I've just talked about you getting your name wrong. Then this is how I always start a podcast, like explaining things that I've done wrong or about to do wrong. But here we are. So
yeah, we're all human.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, even if we are like superhero ultra runners, we're all still human. Right. So, Robin, I've been meaning to get you on the podcast for a while. So we have a mutual friend in Kate Allen from Run Ultra, and sort of So explain how you know Kate then. Firstly, for the listeners the listeners and the viewers know who Kate is, obviously.
So I was looking to stock up a bit more kit for Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100K. And I thought I'd go down to Bakewell Innovate store. And as I was going to pay, Kate was behind the till saying, "Oh, you're the running accountant." I was like, "Oh, I've made it." Somebody recognized me in public. I think I only had about 500 followers at the time. And then she, explained that she was a follower, and so was someone else who worked there. And then we just got to talking from there about running, ultras, and stuff like that. And since then, I've been lucky enough to sort of co-host on a couple Run Ultra podcasts. Yeah, I'm super excited to do as much about running as I possibly can.
Yeah, I think probably Kate has sort of spied you for the same reasons I've sort of spied you as well. Is that your I know we'll obviously go into this, but your account, your account is probably what I would want my account to be if I had enough time to explain about races and different things in running, because I just feel like I don't have enough time to put that level of detail into Instagram posts and stuff. So sort of before we do the superhero question, explain about your account and what the running accountant is and what your purpose is for it to be on social media and what you put out.
Yeah, okay. I suppose so I do the Robin's Running Roundup once a week. I think we've only missed two in maybe the last 15, 16 weeks that I started doing it. Basically just to give a bit more background to the world of ultra running, just the world of athletics as well. There's so much that I suppose people that I know in real life don't really know about running. So I'm sort of treating my audience as if they know nothing, and just going into detail about results, who's and the incredible runners around the world, what are the different types of ultra running that people do, different types of events like the Backyard Ultra. Just I like to be a bit of an information station, I suppose, these days, but also just to try and show the world how amazing running is and the community, and just infect as many people as I possibly can with what it's brought to me so far. And it's only been a year or so that I've had the account, so I hope it can continue to do that. See how many people I can reel in.
Yeah, I think you definitely will. It's a great account.
Cheers.
Something to be proud of. Right, so let's do the big question then, the superhero question then. So for new listeners, the superhero question is obviously as ultra runners, we're all superheroes in one way or another. So all superheroes have an origin story or a backstory of how they got to be that superhero. So Robin, what is your superhero origin story?
I suppose I started running to lose weight like a lot of people did for my wedding back in 2016. And after that, well, my personal trainer at the time, he took me out into the local hills of the Peak District. And it just sort of hooked me a little bit from there. I started to use Strava quite a lot because I've got a very competitive nature. And I was always looking at the top tens. How can I get this segment? How can I get this one? All these people who are this fast, they're all part of my local running club. So maybe I'm good enough to actually go join there. Join the running club. Noticed just that was my real introduction, Gully Valley Striders, into the running world. And I realized just how big it was immediately. And from then, I learned about people doing races further than a marathon. And I suppose what at the time I knew I would never, well, I thought I would never do that sort of thing. I was like, these people are just next level. I'll just focus on doing a 10K half marathon or a marathon. But it just hooks you, doesn't it? So before I knew it, I'd plotted to do my own, I've plotted to do the Bullock Smithy ultra hike around the Peak District and South Manchester sort of area, and I just did that during lockdown. And yeah, it carried on from there. I've
Mm.
done a few more since, and I think I've planned to do just about every single one I've seen, but not got the date in the diary yet.
Yeah, there's a lot to do in there. What have you been sort of like your biggest like races and events that you've done then?
So yeah, I did the Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100K this year. It's the longest I've ever run. So I think it was 105 kilometers, and I'm counting those 5 kilometers.
Okay.
Before that, I did another sort of big one, Race to the Tower, as part of the
Oh yeah,
Threshold
yes.
series. That was the first official one I did. I've run, I did 34 miles for my 34th birthday. I think I did. And the year before it was just 33K for my 33rd birthday. So it really took a step up that next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done the 56-mile route of the Bullock Smithy, but never on the official race day. I was supposed to do it this year, but I got an Achilles injury. Sad.
No, no, well, that's something that plagues us all, injuries. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, quite a few episodes of me whinging about the injuries in the past, but obviously not as many more at the minute, hopefully. So I'm relatively injury free at the moment. So not that anybody cares, but I am. Okay, so how did you sort of decide that you were going to sort of set up this Instagram account then to sort of give people sort of an introduction to, was it something that you felt like was missing from social media, or is it just something that happened?
It's so, I suppose I'd watched quite a lot of YouTube running myself to start with. So I really love Ben Parks
Hmm.
and quite a few other running accounts. And I suppose I really like the idea of just sort of running and chatting to the camera and just plugging it into the internet and see if anybody likes it. So I really like the story element of Instagram initially to just talk about running because I suppose not that many people around me outside of the running club really knew much about it. So I was looking to connect with other people who did. After that, it's just grown from one idea to the next with me and my wife, who also helps with a great deal of the account. She's the whiz behind most of the reels, although I've managed to take the reins on one of them now. She showed me how to use CapCut. So yeah, I guess that's it really.
Yeah,
Just want it to be the best it can be and try and encourage running as much as I can.
yeah, yeah. So there's definitely like I don't suppose there's misconceptions about ultra running, but I suppose people don't really, from the outside, you get the classic, I wouldn't drive that far, that kind of stuff, those
Mm.
kind of comments. Um, but I suppose people don't really know until they start trying themselves, do they? But it's like a big thing, isn't it, to sort of go from just, doing your local park run to then signing up for an ultra. So you're hoping that your account will sort of get people used to the idea of ultras and sort of if they're curious, help them to sort of take that first step then.
Oh, that would be great if it could. I think for the most part, I'm just trying to get people running more consistently, I suppose. I've just recently founded a small running club with one of my friends, Claire Heaviside, called Highpeak Runners, and that's focused on people who've just done Couch to 5K, and quite often people stop. They've lost their motivation once they've completed that goal. So this is just a weekly 5K run that people can come up to once they've completed that, just to try and keep them in the loop. And then once they've just, even if they're just in that one run a week, then after that, maybe they can build confidence to just up the distance, up the distance. And I'm pretty sure after that, they'll be off and away, spread their
Mm.
wings.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Because I suppose if someone's trained for, to do like a 5K, even if it was sort of just on the road, and like you say, if they don't feel like they can jump from 5K up to 10K or up to a half marathon, then trail is a lot more sort of. I mean, I don't know if you've had this experience, but you're obviously in like a trail running club, whereas my local running club was more or less a road running, and then they'd probably like be offended if they heard me saying this on the podcast. But they are quite. They've got better over the years, but when I joined them in lockdown, they were quite road focused, and they weren't very interested in trail, and they were kind of you talk about ultras and people that had been running like their more or less their whole lives were like, so what's an ultra then? And you're thinking like these are people that have been around running like most of their adult lives, but they still don't really understand what an ultra is and what we get up to. So I suppose that's great, isn't it, that you're filling that gap of when people have gone up to a certain distance, not really sure where to go and where to take it, and then introducing them to trail running and getting them to sort of because you soon realise, don't you, once you start running in like a social setting and doing a trail run with friends or just
That's
even if
it.
it's people you don't know, you don't really notice the miles ticking off, do you? Because you're not like road running, you're paying attention to minutes per mile and stuff. Whereas you don't do that on a trail, do you? You just sort of pay attention to conversation you're having and the amazing surroundings that you're running in. So you can almost like trick people into becoming ultra runners, can't you?
Yeah,
By doing that.
definitely. That's exactly it. It's being surrounded by other people running. Quite a lot of these people might have just gone on this initial 5K journey by themselves, but definitely by being surrounded by other people, just chatting away. Before you know it, you've done that 5K a week without even really noticing that it's happened. And it sort of builds a thirst for more, I think, from there. And especially on the trails in the Peak District, there's just so many options for routes. And that's one of the next steps for the Instagram account is me just picking my favorite areas of the Peak District and just mapping new special routes for people to try and drag them out of Manchester uh,
Mm.
and other surrounding areas to just showcase the best bits that aren't really overhyped, sort of the undiscovered hidden trails of the Peak District.
It's not all about trudging up the queue to go up to the top of Mantor, is it?
Exactly. No, and I saw that queue this weekend. It was crazy.
Yeah, I was up there Saturday morning and just running through like towards the end of a social run, and it was literally just people queuing to get to the top, and I was like, it's starting to remind me of when you see those pictures of the top of Snowdon, and they're
Yeah,
literally like in a massive queue just to get to the summit, and it's starting to look a little bit like that.
it is a little bit, isn't it? With the pillar at the top, everyone wants their selfie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but like we said at the time, they sort of joke, don't they, that it's like the shopping centre of the Peak District, like people being there like in jeans and t-shirts and stuff in all weathers and up there in sandals and stuff. But you just think, I always think, well, at least they are there. They could literally be in a shopping centre
Yeah.
somewhere in Sheffield or Manchester. So, the fact that they're there is you kind of give them a bit of grace. I'm not I don't go along the lines of I'm going to have him on as a guest, so I'm not speaking out of turn here. But have you heard of the Windhill King? Have you seen him on
I,
Instagram?
I haven't no, but I love and hate Windhill.
Well, this guy called he's, the self-proclaimed Windhill King, and I'll tag him in this so he can come back at me. But he's very vocal about people going up Windhill because he's got a thing where he's a hiker. He's not a trail runner.
Right.
Yeah, and it's his goal to get up and down Win Hill as many times as he can in a year. That's his like goal. So
Oh,
some
wow.
days some days he goes up it like 10, 12 times, just like backwards and forwards going up it. So he's got a real thing about tourists going up there and leaving litter and stuff, which is, absolutely right. Um, but he is quite militant about it, and he's quite aggressive with people, and he makes banners and stuff, and basically telling them where to go. So he's kind of taken it to another level of but I know he does appreciate people going up there and getting outside, but yeah, I suppose you've got to have a bit of balance with it, haven't you? We can't be sort of too militant
Exactly.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to have to look that up
Yeah,
afterwards.
look him
I'm
up.
very keen to see this guy.
Yeah, he's
But I'm always speaking to people about Win Hill. There's no direction up that hill that's easy.
it's easy. Yeah,
It's
exactly. Yeah,
difficult.
I think the only easy approach is when you come in from what's it end. But
On
then
this
you've already got up onto that point anyway,
onto
haven't you? So
onto the
yeah,
side, yeah, probably, yeah.
yeah. Either way, have you done? Obviously, you done the Skyline route.
The Edel Skyline, yeah, yeah. I did the race this year.
Did you? Nice. Yes. So that's the official route goes literally like straight up that hill, doesn't it? Straight up the
Mhm.
side.
Yeah.
That's brutal. That hill
It's
is.
really
Yeah.
brutal. And my dad and his wife were waiting at the bottom of that hill to cheer me on. And I was like, you picked the one part of the route that I'm definitely walking. Why do you have to be here? Well, at least they'd seen everybody else walking up it before I got there anyway.
Yeah.
So they knew the ropes.
I don't think there's many people running up that section, if any at all.
No, I don't think so. Brutal climb.
It definitely is. Right then. So one of the reasons I wanted to get you on then is to talk about. So when I was sort of looking at your account, I appreciate the fact that you do your roundup, your
Mm,
Robin's Weekly roundup into it.
yeah.
Yeah, and you sort of put together like what's been happening in sort of ultra running for the week, etc. So that's great. I think that is like absolutely needed because it's something that I'd love to do myself, but I don't have the time to do it with organising podcasts and having a family and a full-time job, etc. So it's great that you do that. So um, you obviously put on about, you wrote an article for Kate, didn't you, for Run Ultra about the backyard championship. So for the listeners, then I know I've talked a little bit about backyard ultras, and I had obviously had Sarah Perry on a couple of weeks ago, and we
Yeah.
did touch on that because she was sort of doing a final prep for that, and it was like a bit of an afterthought, when she mentioned it, saying, "Oh yeah, and I'm doing the backyard championships," and I thought at the time, I thought, I bet she'll win that, and sure enough,
Yeah.
she did. So what's for the listeners then and the viewers who are sort of new to trail running and ultra running, this is a bit of a new phenomenon, isn't it? But it has been around for a while, hasn't it? But it's relatively new.
Yeah.
So can you sort of sum up and explain for the newbie what the backyard ultra championships are?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so it's you do a 4.167 mile lap once per hour, or 6.7 kilometers. And you can only run that far within the hour, and you have to wait for the next hour to begin to run your next lap. And it's as many laps or hours as you can keep running. Go nuts. You can, it could potentially go on forever, which is why we've just got the most amazing results recently. I don't, you've also got to squash in your nutrition in your little break time that you've got back. So most people are getting the 4+ miles done sort of 45 to 50 minutes. So then you've got the remaining time of the hour to, yeah, sort your nutrition, go to a loo, maybe try and get a bit of sleep after you, especially once you're getting over 100 miles, if you've done 24 hours of this already. You're going to start craving that before going crazy, I assume. And some of these people are going over 200, 300 400 miles. So it becomes quite a tactical difficulty to manage all of that. Obviously, you can have your own crew for each of this. You've got your own station. You can have it all set up with all your favorite food and necessities there to grab, and then run back to the start line for the next lap. That's it in a nutshell. You can get some courses that have got quite a lot of elevation. I think I'd probably want to be picking a flattish one, maybe not completely flat because that presents its own problems, doesn't it, for the pounding and having to drive yourself forward a little bit more. But there, that's it for the most part.
Mm. What sort of challenges do sort of runners come up against then? Is it just the sleep deprivation and is what kind of things come up in that throw a spanner in the works for somebody and would be a reason for them to start?
I would have thought, yeah, if like any ultra, I think if you're having stomach issues and you're not able to get that food down, one of the hardest parts of a backyard ultra is that you can't just give yourself 30 minutes, an hour, maybe even longer than that in an aid station, sat there waiting for your body to adjust and recover. You have to keep moving to the next lap. So it's really pushing you on, not giving you any breathing room to fix these issues. And I imagine that's probably where quite a lot of the DNFs come from. And
Yeah.
it should be said that everyone else who doesn't win the race is considered to have DNF'd, which is quite evil for people who swear that they've never DNF'd a race. But maybe it's to make it a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was the thing I'd said to Sarah when I interviewed her that when we briefly discussed it, I was like, I don't know. I've not to this day, obviously there's future attempts at things, but I've not DNF'd a race yet in like all my, over 10, 12 years of ultra running. I've never DNF'd a race, and I said maybe that's because I just haven't tried hard enough in a race before to get to that point. But that's like a real psychological thing, isn't it? That do you think it sort of attracts a certain person to it? Because I'm quite a kind of like not proud of the fact that I've never DNF, but I like that I've never DNF'd a race. But also, I think, am I missing out on something because I haven't DNF'd a race? Do I need to go to that place that not many people go to and push yourself to the point where you can't go, physically can't go anymore? And is that and do I have the potential to be a good backyard runner? But you don't
Mm,
know, do you, until you try?
no. No, I think the fact that it just completely disrupts your rhythm and you can't just keep going as much as you want to and just break when you need to. It's a completely different animal to other things. Even the 24-hour track race, which has got sort of a similar feel to it, loop on loop, although that's a 400-meter loop. At least in that one, you can still take as much longer breaks as you want to, and then continue the cycle.
Yeah.
Whereas this is much more different, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The thought of not being able to sort of stop for as long as you need to, because I know that I've like suffered with my stomach in hot races, um, and I've learned to sort of see the signs come in and stop, slow myself down, take something else on, like nutrition wise,
Mm,
just walk, or if it's been really bad, I've literally like took my pack off and got into a river and just lay there for 10 minutes and cooled down and got my core body temperature down and
mm.
then set off again and been like right as rain and been okay. But obviously you can't do that, can you, in the backyard? You
No, you
can't
can't.
like give yourself half an hour and lie in a cold river and then, take your time getting back into a race again. You're literally being held to account, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, it's actually say there though, it's the pace that you're normally pushing at that can force you to have these issues. Whereas Damien Hall recently said on the Ultrasound podcast with Ali Bailey that he really likes the backyard ultra for it being a great equalizer. That people of superior speed like himself can be competing directly with someone who's nowhere near as fast because you only need to be running just under 9 minutes per kilometer per lap.
Mm.
I think it was 14 minutes 20 something per mile,
Yeah.
then it's really anybody's race.
I've not thought of that before, actually. Yeah, the fact that it's not about speed, is it? Do some people take that approach, though? Do some people sort of want to get through their lap as quickly as possible and give themselves more time? What is there any sort of consensus on the best way to approach it then?
I wondered the same. And when I was looking at the Belgians' results, who recently smashed the record, one of them actually had the fastest lap of anyone. Well, it was 37 minutes 41. They did one of their laps in, which is I would have thought way too fast for really overdoing it. And
Mm.
it seems it was kind of a running theme amongst the Belgians that quite a lot of them had around 40 minutes fastest laps, whereas you don't generally see them that quick. Most people want to pace it quite carefully, not risk too much.
Mm.
I didn't see that they'd really been doing it consistently at that pace. But yeah, that surprised me actually. So maybe perhaps some people do
Mm.
over the course of the race.
Maybe they're just doing it for their own sort of to keep themselves busy, keep their mind busy, focusing on something and giving their body sort of like a bit of a jolt, maybe to
Mm.
because I know sometimes you can, in a long race you can sort of get into a bit of a rut, can't you, with pace and stuff, and then something happens and you have to sort of pick your pace up, and then it gives you sort of a new lease of life. I
Mm.
remember doing one of the first ultras I ever did was Lady Bower 50. So when they used
All
to,
right, yeah.
they still do that race, I think, don't they?
It's
Lady
just
Bower.
happened, yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So I've never done it since. I did it the first year of ultra running, and I think it was my first official 50 miler. And it was over 50 miles as well. That was the thing I learned very quickly, because the ultras aren't what they say they are. I was tricked. But I was in like a real like rut with pace going round. Um, and then it just so happened that the day of the race was when they had a load of Lancaster bombers flying over to reenact when they did like the bouncing bomb on, because that's where they
Amazing.
practiced, didn't they? So they
Yeah.
had these big Lancaster bombers like going over the reservoir really low, and it was amazing. But the upshoot of it was that it was absolutely rammed full of people. There was literally not, how busy it can be there anyway, but I've never ever seen so many people like around Lady Bower. Um, so there was cars everywhere, there was people all over the place, and we were sort of trudging around, and part of the route you go over the bridge that goes over the reservoir to come back on that trail. And there was a guy in a car like pulled out. We literally, there's so many people, we had to run on the road like round the cars, and this guy like had a massive go at us for running in the road, even though there was nowhere for us to go. And he was like giving us like full road rage, and like sped his car up to chase us along the bridge and stuff, shouting at us, and it like gave me like a massive jolt of adrenaline because I was like giving him what for back. Um, so like I had been like sort of like pushed out of this like funk of being stuck like trudging along doing slow miles, and I found like I'd got like a new lease of life because I got like this rush of adrenaline. So maybe there's something in that. Maybe to keep your mind focused, to keep going, you just need to put it like the Belgians, just throw in like a few fast laps, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Oh
Um,
man. Then
what's what's
busy.
the what's the sort of because people have heard of like Laz doing like the first backyard, because Laz is obviously like infamous for his crazy races, isn't he? And this was sort of his
Yeah.
original concept, and now it's sort of been taken around the world and everything. So you hear about them all over the place, these like individual races. Then, so what's the idea of what just happened then? Because that wasn't just a normal backyard ultra, was it? It was part of explain about this sort of championship then.
But yeah, it's the World Championships. So the top 15 of each country are all participating. So it started a couple of years back. They only had 21 countries. Now this year there was 63 countries competing. So as you say, it really has taken off. And so the top 15 runners, every lap they do, they score a point, and then it's whoever's accumulated the most points. So the more runners you can have going as far as possible will end up with the highest score. And that's what Belgium managed to do. And they had all the results sort of coming in at the same time. So I imagine there was quite a bit of research and people keeping track of the scores per country, because quite late on, Australia only just overtook USA for second place. And that was Phil Gore, who actually used to hold the backyard world record last year. But it's just keeps going up. I think he did, well, his record was 102 laps. He did 96 this time. But then Belgium had 4 runners do over 100, which was just crazy. It makes you wonder how.
So what have been the records then that have been broken then recently with it?
So Harvey Lewis had the world record from last year, and that was 108 laps. The guy who just recently finished the Barkley Marathons first, I forget his name. Is he Russian? I can't even remember where he's from. Eastern European, should we say? He got the assist. They always call it the assist, whoever comes second behind the winner with 107 laps. And the Belgians, 3 Belgian men got 110 laps and all retired at the same time, which was nice. It does make you wonder, did one of them think they could keep going?
Yeah, surely one out of the three could have kept going.
Yeah, you would have thought so, wouldn't you? I'd have to interview them all separately and find out whether they could. And also the women's world record was completely smashed as well by an American, from an American. Jennifer Russo had the record at 74 laps, and was it Megan Eckhart got the new world record at 87 laps, which is amazing. I think that's the British record as well. Matthew Blackburn, 87 laps.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
So how did you know, our Sarah, we'll call her, how did Sarah do in comparison to the ladies doing it?
So Sarah recently beat the British record earlier this year. So it used to be 35 laps. Then in March she did 41 laps, and then this time she did 59 laps.
Wow.
Which was, so much further than her previous record. So that's quite the bettering on this occasion. But obviously, the American Megan, she ran 87 laps. There was a Canadian who finished high up as well, but I can't remember what they got. But yeah, they're doing a lot further. I'd expect Sarah going to Big Dogs next year to go further than 59, because she won the race. It was as soon as Alex Sweet, who came second, the assist,
Yeah.
retired, then she just did one more lap. It makes you wonder how much further could she have gone. I spoke to Luke while it was going on, and it seemed like she was pretty comfortable. So who knows? It'd be so exciting to watch next year.
He's a good guy, Luke, isn't he? I've been corresponding with him a bit this week about everything that went on, which we won't talk about on this podcast. Yeah, that's great. Women's like ultra running is just like off the scale, isn't it, at the moment? Just they're getting like absolute credit that's due now, aren't they? With
Absolutely.
the results that they're getting. Do you how does it work then with the championship then? Is it the country that wins, or is it is it sort of individuals that you like you say they all dropped out together? So I suppose it's dependent, isn't it, on who gets the assist, isn't it? So that makes sense, doesn't it? So what you technically want is for your team to keep going as far as they can go, to make sure that you can keep pushing that distance, because obviously if it's all well and good that you could have one runner that could excel and could do like 120 loops, but if they haven't got somebody there to do the 119, then it's not going to happen, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, and you could have one brilliant runner, but then the other 14 might not be quite good enough. So then your overall total points aren't very good, and then you wouldn't have finished as high up in the leaderboard. You're supposed to only have technically one winner and the winner of that country then gets invited to Big Dogs, and that's Sarah was ours. But because they all retired at once, there was sort of a bit of a worry that none of them would somehow be invited. But they've got sort of a catch-all, what they call the at-large list, where all the best results in the last couple of years, the top, I think it's about the top 20 of those results, all of those people get invited as well.
Right. Okay. That seems quite fair then to do it that way, that you're not really ruling anybody out when they've had really good results and they could potentially be the one that pushes it even further.
Yeah. It's quite a lot of people that have been bumped onto the waiting list after these national championships. There's 4 Australians in the list. There's 7 Belgians in that list now. So everyone with, I think I can't recall what the lowest amount of laps run. Hang on a way, I can find out here. So 81 laps isn't enough to have got you the invite. You have to run at least 82 or won your national championship.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get into. So it's after everything that had happened, sort of with Sarah and everything, with that performance that she put down and stuff. Um, I'd sort of said to her when I interviewed her that I wasn't that interested in doing one, but seeing all the hype about it and everything, I'm thinking, you know, I've done the spine race. What's left to do now?
Well, exactly. If you've done that, you've completed running, in my opinion. So just chuck your hat into anything after that.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that I will go back to the spine. I know my wife isn't listening to this, and she never listens to the podcast, so I could say this safely on here that she made me promise that I would never do it again. But yeah, I'm sure I can sort of find a way to do it again. But yeah, so that is an option then, to sort of throw my hat in and do a backyard. I did get an offer of one there was one that a guy had set up down south, and he was sort of trying to drum up
Mm,
um, some business for it, and he offered me a place on it. But it wasn't sort of on my mind this year for doing it. I was so focused on doing the spine in January that nothing else had kind of like the world didn't exist after the
mm,
spine. Everything led up to that, so I've not really thought about it. But now it's starting to seem like it might be something that I might have a go at. Well, it's either that or try and find out how to get into Barclays or something and do that and have that as a project, like a long-term project. Because I don't think that is particularly one that you sign up to thinking that you just go and do it and that's it, it's done. I think you end up being like Damien Hall and having to keep going back to try and
mm.
better yourself every year.
Yeah, I think he's definitely not done with it, is he? He'll be going back. Is he going back this year? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he probably is. Yeah. Well,
I'm
he's not.
still,
He's not doing the spine, is he? So, um, at least I don't think he is. Anyway, I'm not. I need to check the lineup again, but I don't think he's doing the spine. So, he's told me he's going to be coming and doing a bit of media stuff. So,
all right, okay.
maybe the chances of him doing the race are low. Um, but anyway, so what are your sort of running goals then for the future? What have you got anything lined up, or have you got anything that you really want to like the look of and want to have a go at?
So I entered Ultra Trail Snowdonia to get me some running stones and try and get into UTMB. That's the big YouTube videos really captured it all for me. I was sold the dream. So I booked my 100K UTS, and now I'm waiting to plug my running stones in December and then find out in January if I get in. If I don't get in, I really do like the look of a 24-hour track race, believe it or not.
Wow.
I just think it kind of suits me. I like that sort of metronomic
Mm,
plod that it would be. I
mm,
like the idea of just having your own little station that you can come back to and then just keep going
mm,
around the track.
mm,
If not that, then maybe a backyard ultra. I did try and get into Lakeland 100, but I didn't get a place.
mm. Yeah, tough to get into. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting about the 24-hour concept. Um, Yeah, that's something that I have thought of as well because I have done a couple of like timed events, so like 6 hour timed events, and like you say, knowing that you've got that it's like a fixed route that you're going round, and knowing that you've got like a station where you can go to it and you've got everything that you need. Um, so I did one like local to me. It was like a 6 hour timed event, and you just keep going round and round and round for 6 hours, obviously. But it was on trails, like in a bit of a closed park.
Hmm.
Um, and I just like thought ahead because I knew it was going to be hot, so I'd got like a big, massive like cooler box that sort of that I could plug in as well. They had power there; you could plug it in to keep it cold.
Oh,
And I had it
great.
full of ice, and I literally like filled it with like everything imaginable that you would ever want on a race, and just tried different things every time I went around. I was just like, I'll see how this feels when I have this. And it worked out really well. It's amazing how you can sort of keep on top of. It was such a hot day, and it was after I'd had this race where everything fell apart and I was throwing up because of the heat. And it was an even hotter day doing this timed event, but everything went to plan because it was like you were forced to sort of take stock every, however long it took you to get around 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
You, you were sort of, you were there. Do I need anything? Yes, no, carry on. And it just seemed to be like the perfect sort of setup for making sure that you're sort of consistent with your nutrition and your cooling and stuff. Is that the idea that you sort of you like that idea of having repeatability sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've already in random training runs, there's a park near my wife's in-laws that's 500 meters, just a tarmac path around a square park, and I've done 20 plus miles around that. Just even when I've had the freedom of running anywhere I want around Nottingham, just thought I'm just gonna keep running around there and see how that goes, and I quite enjoy it. Don't know why. Maybe there's a I do. So I think that's sparked the interest in it. If I can do it, if I can do that for 2 hours, what's it like to do another 22 more
Hmm.
after that? And
Yeah,
they do make you switch directions. I know, I think it's every 3 hours, or it might be more than that.
yeah. You'd need that, wouldn't you? Like otherwise,
Yeah.
one side if he's going to start locking up.
Yeah. I think you can get hip troubles with leaning in a little bit, just
Yeah.
even not knowingly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, every like 4 times, aren't you? Like at least you're going to
Mm,
be leaning, aren't you?
yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't know whether that sounds like bliss or like complete murder. I don't know because I know what you mean about. I quite like when I'm like in the zone and I'm doing a long run. When I'm in like full peak training mode and I know that I'm doing like a 20 miler and I've got headphones in and I'm listening to music and I'm just literally just concentrating on trying to keep a fast pace and like interval for taking on nutrition and stuff. You can go into like a bit of a zone, can't you?
Mhm.
Um, and I've always found that all my best like training runs like that are where I've sort of gone into like a bit of a almost like a trance where you just sort of focused on what you're doing, one foot in front of the other, making sure you're taking on fluid and nutrition and stuff. So the idea of doing that on the track, it does appeal to me in a way, I suppose, because if you're not really aware of your surroundings, then you may as well be going around a track, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. I do really like the look of doing Spartathlon as well. And this sort of enables that because you have to get such a good 20, I think it's either like a 12-hour or 24-hour time or reaching 100K in a certain amount of time. And the criteria is so strict. I really like the pressure of that.
Mm. Yeah, these some tight cut-offs, isn't it, with Spartathlon?
Mhm.
They really like cut you down to the time, don't they?
Yeah, you have to be really good to just even get in the race. And then in the race itself, I think the 50-mile cutoff is really tough. So you can't pace the race in one piece, really. You have to do it in two chunks, hit that 50-mile checkpoint, and then you can think about the other 102 miles after that.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, it's interesting race to watch, isn't it? Yeah, it's a shame Camille didn't get to do the race in the end. Yeah, I
Mm.
was looking forward to seeing if she would be running angry or not.
She'd be perfect for that race as well.
Well, she's has she won that, or is it's comrades, isn't it, that she's won into?
Yeah, that'd be nice too. Maybe on a downhill year though.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether that's worse though on a downhill. I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. But what's your take then? So, as the running accountant, someone who follows ultra running like really closely and everything, and everything that's happening on like a weekly basis, over the last year or so, couple of years, there's been quite a few controversies in ultra running, like the whole Camille Herron thing, and then like the
Mm.
UTMB thing where they, an Ironman and everything, sort of allegedly, forcing their way into Canada and everything with these races.
Mhm.
There's a few little bits that sort of pop up here, there, and everywhere, like things on Instagram and stuff. What's your take on it all? Is this just like the natural progression of the sport and the professionalization of it, and these are the things that are going to happen, or do you fear for the future of trail running?
Uh, I do a little bit, a little bit. I think it is just going to naturally get bigger and bigger, and these little like controversies are going to continue to happen. With Camille's, I don't know how true the whole thing is of how much they really were editing other people's results and like knocking down their achievements, but I could totally get it. If they because she's at the top level, and if her account, let's say they didn't edit her account, wasn't on par with some of those other trail runners, I'd be a bit miffed about that, thinking I'm as good as they are. Like, mine should be as nice as I'm changing it. I'm changing it. Not as good as me. So I can understand it if they did do it, I can completely get that. As for UTMB and things taking over the world, there's rumors they might do one in the Peak District, one in Scotland as well. I mean, it would be nice if
Be nice
they
if they
could
did.
have done a more local. Well, it would be nice if I could get running stones a bit more locally,
Mm.
but the cost of the events is just crazy. And considering you can do some of these much lower level races, I think Peak Running is the name of one of them. I think they do the Millstone 100.
Yeah, peak running. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just so much more approachable. You get an amazing route and no like not flooded with people coming from all over the world to do it. You're just out there by yourself, marching through the the
Yeah.
bogs. Yeah, I think that appeals to me a bit more. But again, I was sold the dream of UTMB as well, and
Mm.
I would love to go and do the great 106 mile route. If anything, just to see this journey through because I've started it now.
Mm. It feels like the sort of the natural progression of you running story, doesn't it? Like I've been to Western States and seen Western States. I haven't ran it, but I went out there a few years ago and did a bit of camera work and stuff and saw that race and how amazing that race is.
Mm.
I'm still, it guts me that I couldn't go this year to UTMB because of family issues and stuff. But I'd got a place in one of the smaller races
Mm.
and I had to give it up. But so it's still on my list of things that I've got to do. So I'd like FOMO of everybody going out there in the summer,
Mm.
and it just feels like you love or hate UTMB and Ironman. Regardless of what you think they've done or what they have done, that race isn't going anywhere, is it?
No,
it's always gonna be there.
it
So
is.
you've got to kind of learn to sort of live with it and love it and everyone's got their own choice, haven't they? They don't have to go there. They can go and do their local race in the Peak District, like you say. But you know, it's this. I always sort of compare it to like Premier League football and like lower division football, or going to see your local like small like club um, game at the weekends. You can enjoy them just as much. But if you want the razzmatazz, you go and see Man U and Chelsea and all those kind of big matches and stuff, don't you? Because you get
Yeah,
like if you want it, you go and get it, don't you?
absolutely. Yeah, I can. Yeah, exactly. And it's also just the methodical numbers part of me. I've done a marathon. I've done 50 miles. I've done 100K. Next up is 100 miles. So that's why I was looking at. And naturally, the most famous 100-mile race to me was UTMB. Okay, how am I going to go do that? So that it just made the most sense to me. I mean, Western states would be incredible, wouldn't it? Especially with they can keep the prestige of that race because there's only 300 entries.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's never going to get over. I mean, I can't imagine they'll ever change the
No, I don't think they can't.
entry.
They can't change the numbers because it's like averaged over like 5 years, isn't it? That they've got to have a set amount of people that go over those trails, and they agree. I think they agree to that, and I think they're so worried about losing the permits to be able to do it that
Mm,
they obviously just keep in line with the authorities and like the Forestry Commission or whatever it is out there that lay down the law, and that's what they've got. So yeah, you'll always have that. It'll always feel like a small personal race, won't it? To as much as it can do if you like 300 or 400 runners doing
yeah.
that. Yeah, it's
Whereas,
definitely bucket list races, aren't there?
mm, whereas like two odd thousand who go out for the set of UTMB races, which actually it feels too small for how difficult that is to get into as well. Unbelievably.
Mental. So what have you got planned imminently then? What are you doing with the account? How are you expanding that, and what are you sort of got planned for, like your social runs and stuff like that?
So next, I've literally got a list of about 14 different routes that I want to go out and film and just show people the general routes. So just little snippets along the whole way. Here's the view at the top after the climb. Here's the descent back, and here's the good car park that you can start from. DM me if you want the route, if you want to come and have a nice time. So I've got a great one done at the weekend. Going to knock all those out over the next few months or so if I can manage to keep getting good weather like we had at the
Mm.
weekend. And then after, well, the running club, just hope I can just keep growing it. We've made up some flyers to go and post around everywhere, just try and attract as many people because there's so many people that can run sort of 5K ish. And you see them all the time out running about, and I just want to shout Highpeak Runners
Mm.
to them. Just come and join us for a week. So hopefully that can continue to grow and spread.
Yeah.
Because and one of the main reasons I picked the area it's in is because there isn't a local running club really anywhere near close to it. And if there is, it's Pennine Fell Runners who are all incredible, and they go up on Kinder every single week. And it just needed something a bit lower level
Yeah.
to help people out.
Entry level. Yeah, a bit entry level.
Mm.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I appreciate all that you're doing for the sport locally. That's great. If you give me like links, I'll make sure I put them in the show notes and stuff, and tag all the accounts and everything in the posts that we put out for it. So yeah,
Thanks very much.
really appreciate you coming on and chatting and giving us a bit more background information on the running accountant. So actually, are you actually an accountant?
I am actually an accountant, yeah. Yeah, I've got my own accounting practice in Whaley Bridge.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because I wasn't sure. Maybe just it was sort of the play on like the accounting of like what goes on in ultra
You
running.
never know, do you? You never know. Yes, I am actually an accountant.
So those ties you wear in the weekly roundup are your ties that you wear for work.
Well, sometimes, yeah. If on the days that I know I should be more formal and I've got a more important client meeting, then maybe I'll wear a tie.
Yeah. Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough. Awesome. Well,
yeah.
appreciate you coming on, Robin, and thanks for giving up your time. And look forward to sort of seeing how things progress and following your account and spreading the love of trail running to everyone.
Right. Nice one. Thanks for having me, Sam.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
no worries, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, 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 bye.